Here we're talking about factoring polynomials, and we have a couple polynomials here that we can factor. So if we look at example 1, we can see that each one of these terms has an x in, so we can take an x out, and that leaves us with x squared minus 7x plus 10. And at this point, we need to figure out, we have a quadratic here, and we need to figure out what our two binomials will be, so we leave the x out front. And because our lead coefficient is 1, we know that x in x have to be our lead terms of each binomial. And two numbers that multiply to positive 10 and add to negative 7, well, we know two numbers that multiply to 10 would be 5 and 2, but then we have to multiply to negative 7. So if we make these both negative, then we'll be able to add to negative 7. So that's the factored form. And then we have to figure out what our zeros are going to be. So we're still going to use the zero product property. And in this case, we're going to set each one of these multipliers equal to 0. So x is equal to 0, x minus 5 is equal to 0, and x minus 2 is equal to 0. So we add 2, we add 5, and that one's all set there. So x is equal to 5, x is equal to 2. So our solutions are x equals 0, 2, and 5. Another example we have, here we have a binomial. So right away we should be thinking difference of squares or difference of cubes. Well, 3 and 5 both aren't perfect cubes, but we do know that we have some y's here, so let's factor some y's out. Not only can we factor 3 y's out, we can also take a 3 out of both of those. So what would be left with after we take 3y cubed out is y squared. And after we divide 75 by 3, we're left with minus 25. And the y cubed is already taken out. So we know that this is difference of squares, so we leave our 3y cubed. And then difference of squares means the square root of the first term, which is y, and then minus plus because we want to have conjugate pairs. And the square root of 25 is 5. And then we still have to use the zero product property. So the first term, 3y cubed is equal to 0. We divide by 3, take the cube root, but if we plug in 0 here, so we know that y is equal to 0 because there's no other addition or subtraction. And then we have y minus 5 equals 0, so we add 5. So y is equal to 5. And then we have y plus 5 is equal to 0. So we subtract 5. And we get y is equal to negative 5. So our solution, y equals negative 5, 0, and 5.